tell you a little bit about me. And the reason I wanted to meet you is I wanted to see your faces. I mean, we'll be able to do maybe some webcams and that kind of stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, you guys are probably a little more versed in the technology component than I might be. And if you are, then that doesn't bother me a bit. So, anyway, so with that, a little bit about me, and then I just want to hear just a little bit about you. And then I will tell you what my expectations are for teaching the behavior class, 7A through 3. First of all, this is my first time teaching for MNU. I'm excited about it. Well, actually, I taught for them probably maybe about 5 years ago. Actually, the same class. So, my history is I'm a special educator, and so I've been working with Neil and other people with MNU to kind of help get this program off the ground, and finally it's happening. And so it didn't matter to us if it was 2 or if it was 32, students that we were going to have. And so 5, hopefully 6, because 6 people are enrolled, will be your guys' first cohort group that we're working with. So a little bit about me. I have been teaching for many years. My current position is a director of special education for the Gardner Edgerton School District. You guys know where that is? Okay. Some people don't, some people do. I always say 4 miles south of the lake, though. That's where Gardner is. It's the Gardner and Edgerton communities. I have been there, this is my 14th year. I am their Director of Special Services, which means that I oversee all the special education programs and then all the federal programs, Title I, Title III, English learners, those types of things, parents as teachers. And so the best way to think about it is you have general education, and then you have all the other programs. Well, I'm all the other programs. We'll just give it to Judy, she'll do it. And so wear many, many hats within the school district, and to me, that's exciting, it's fun, there's lots going on, there's lots of problem solving. That's one thing you will find out in special education, you can't do it alone. You have to have partners in special education, you have to have problem solving. It's what the whole concept is set around. The IEP is just not one person, it's a team of people. And so that's, when you're in special education, just get used to being with other people and problem solving. And you're going to need that because you're going to bounce a lot of ideas, questions, thoughts, philosophies, strategies off of your colleagues, off of parents, and then sometimes off of the students that you work with to come up with the perfect plan for them. So I've been in Gardner for 14 years and have had the same roles that I just shared. Prior to that, I taught special education in the Olathe School District and was there for probably 10 or 12 years. I taught several different areas there, from self-contained classes, which is kind of a long time ago, we don't use those terminology much anymore, to an inclusion facilitator, which is a person that goes around and supports students with disabilities in their classrooms. And then I also administer their summer school program, their extended school year program. So I'm very fond of the Olathe School District. Prior to that, which was my first teaching job, I was at Lake Mary Center, and that is in Paola. It's a residential facility and a day school, and so I was there for 7 years. And how many of you know about Lake Mary? Okay, you never forget where your first place is at the time. And so Lake Mary is very near and dear to my heart. And Lake Mary taught me how to deal with behavior. So Lake Mary houses the students that the public school districts don't have anymore, or don't house anymore, or, just to cut through the chase, don't know how to strategize for them. So if a public school district can't handle a kiddo, then they might go to a place like Lake Mary Center. So that's how I learned behavior. It was either sink or swim, and it was pretty eye-opening to me. So I have a lot of strong behavior techniques, skills, qualities. I know what I'm talking about in that, and hopefully I will be able to articulate that to you, and you guys will be able to grasp a little bit of the iceberg regarding special education and behavior. And when I say iceberg, there's a lot of information. There's just a lot of information in SPED, and don't, I guess some words of wisdom that I'm going to share with you is don't expect to know all of it in classes. So we're going to give you the tools that you need and the information to kind of put your building blocks in place, and then as time happens, then it will kind of start making sense to you. But that's the purpose of going through this. Prior to Lake Mary, which was my first teaching job, I'm from Pittsburgh, Kansas, and that's where I grew up and graduated. And when I graduated, I did not get, because I kind of didn't want to get, a teaching job. I thought, why do I have to work? And so my dad said, no, you're going to go get a job. And so I got a job as a para-educator. I knew nothing about special education. I always wanted to be a second grade teacher. That's where I did my student teaching over in Joplin, Missouri. Wanted to be a second grade teacher. My first job was a para-educator for students with disabilities at a school there. Absolutely loved it. I fell in love with it. With the kids, with the staff, the special educators. I thought, this is what I want to do. So I enrolled back in school for special education to get my master's in SPED. And so that's kind of my history of where I've come. So I've always been in the field of special education, very passionate about it, very much an ambassador for students with disabilities, and for the parents and for the families. And so it's just kind of where my life has gone. So with that, that's a little bit about me. Before I kind of share what my expectations are on this class, I want you guys just to introduce yourselves to me. Why are you starting in this class, and what are you doing currently? So I'll have you go first.
I'm Jess. I am currently subbing in Olathe. I did 2 years in PCK. I was like an interventionist and then a secondary teacher. And then things didn't work out there, so and my mom, she was a home care provider for kids with needs, so I grew up around it my entire life. So
I'm going to stop you right there. You said kids with needs, and that's a good thing. If you remember what I said, I've always said students with disabilities, students on IEP, students with exceptionalities, students with, the kid comes first. So it's not the handicapped student, it's not the deaf-blind student that's walking down. Just kind of, it's people first language. So just kind of remember that. You always, it's a person first, and then it's the disability. So good job, Jess, on that.
So my mom has worked with them like my whole entire life. So I kind of grew up with that, and then I kind of came to the part like subbing. I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? And Joe Lamar, who's a professor, mentioned the program, and so I was like, well, why not? So
Good. All right.
My name is Rachel Marlowe, and currently I'm subbing and trying to get my license transferred from Oklahoma to here.
Okay.
For the last 5 years, I taught at Kansas City Christian School, and I was the music teacher there. I taught K through 12, elementary, instrumental, and vocal.
And where's that located?
Prairie Village, 79th and West.
Okay, that's where I thought.
And prior to getting my job there, that was my first teaching job. I had started my master's at UMKC as a music therapist.
Okay.
And between some of the health things that went on with me, I got the job at Kansas City Christian, which was great, but I stopped halfway through
Okay.
my master's, and so this was an excellent opportunity for me to go back and still combine what I know and love, music, with what I've learned to love is education, with what my passion is with children, and learning how to meet them where they're at.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Good. We employ some music therapists on our staff, and that's a great related service for students with disabilities as well. So, all right.
I'm Leah Parsons, and I have been at Western Middle School in Shawnee Mission for 8 years. I started there the very first year that they went to total collaboration. So I taught science and social studies last year. I kind of switched majors going through college and decided that I wanted to do special ed.
Woohoo!
So,
Good.
Yeah, I started off with physical therapy, and that kind of morphed into this. So, yeah, I decided it was after I had a kid, and now he's 1 year old now, I'm like, I want something else to do. So I decided I wanted to do my master's and see what's current. And,
Now, Are you teaching currently?
Uh-huh.
No.
Yeah.
At Westridge?
Okay. Yeah, and I have back to school night tonight at 6, so.
Oh, so you're the one that has to
I
school
go
out.
on so late and I'll have to watch everything later.
Okay. All right.
Michael Lewis, I teach at Argentine Middle School. I had my 4th year of school now, and then we watched it last year, and I had this year with the kind of class as well. I'm just, I don't know, I work in a place where sometimes it's easy to write study kids off because they don't necessarily look like that disability. So I kind of get a chip on my shoulder with that. Those kids are my football players, they don't get a chance because teachers already kind of go in looking at them like, oh, I'm going to give that kid a hard time. And my quarterback last year was a kid with CLB, some processing issues, and they made him a really good quarterback because he didn't process it before the time to hit him. So he played really, really well because, I mean, it all actually turned out to be a really,
That's
really good
great.
for him. So, I mean, kind of just putting him out there and giving him a chance to do something. I don't like when people don't think everybody can be successful. So it's kind of something I wrote. My best friend kind of got me into this, and I just really enjoyed working with those kids. And this is kind of something I want to, as I move on with what I'm going to do, I might do this and transition to that next year. So.
At Argentine, do you teach regular ed or are you teaching
Math.
special ed? You teach regular ed math, but they have collaborative classes that SPED comes in. Okay.
I just had another teacher in my room who I'm really big on, like, we don't pull them. We do a lot of different things to do intervention, a lot of similar ability groups. The biggest thing is you almost have to, the way we're set up is different in different districts. I mean, in a Shawnee Mission type district, you might want to try to put, those auxiliary process development with intermediate high. Where we're at, you want intermediate low, and then you want to level at kids. Otherwise, the high kids will kind of see a drop in that way. But it's been really, nice being able to kind of work with that and figure it out as we go along. We're definitely pull them. They're part of the class, and we do
Wonderful.
we do some foundation applications, and it's really
All right. Good. Another word that he just used, Mike, is that right? That he just uses the word data. And that's as a behaviorist or as a special educator. Yeah, maybe as a regular teacher also. Data is your friend and it's how you make decisions. And if my teachers in our district don't use data and they want to come to me with a problem that they want to, try to shift something or ask for resources, they know the first thing out of my mouth is, where's your data to support it? And if they don't have it, they know now not to even come to me without it because I'll just say, meeting's over. But data's your friend. It's a great word. Yes.
My name's Kristen Murphy. I'm currently, I guess, technically considered a private teacher for a student who's taught at Columbia Allergies and Disability.
Okay.
He's dual enrolled in 2 school districts. He's enrolled in the Valley for specials, art, PE, music, and I teach all 4 subjects. He's anywhere from 3rd grade to 6th grade, depending on what we're doing. Prior to this job, last year I was a substitute teacher in the Shawnee Mission School District. I taught everywhere from kindergarten to high school, regular ed, special ed. I love it all. Before that, I worked for the Shawnee Mission School District for 10 years, almost 10 years, as a paraprofessional. While I was getting my bachelor's degree, get my teaching degree, I worked in LD. I worked with students in LD and BD for the mainstream of everybody. And then I worked 6 years in a self-contained classroom in a self-contained living communication and behavior disorders.
What school was that at?
Shawnee Mission North. I
Okay.
worked in their West Wing.
Okay. Yeah.
And before I worked with students anywhere from students who have severe multiple disabilities, the UBITs that are just coming in, to 18 through 21 program, which is what I worked at Shawnee Mission North.
Was Eric Rimble there?
Yes.
Okay. He's our
He was
principal this
awesome.
year.
He's awesome. Love him. He is so fantastic and so supportive of his staff. He will completely back you up. And if you need something, if it helps you out, he'll move heaven and earth to do it for you. He's awesome.
Okay. Well, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna pass around a couple things that I'm gonna take with me. This is the student information, so if you'll just write, when we start with Micah, just write your information down. And then also, this is just a little bit more, it's the same but a little bit more, so I'm gonna have you complete this out as well. And I'll just leave one in case number 6 comes
Perfect,
along.
thank you. I just sent her an email, so hopefully she's checking it,
Okay.
if she's looking for us. Does it feel better in here?
A little blur, yeah.
It may be hard to hear on the video. So I'm gonna go over that fan.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just crank it. Is that what I heard?
The Valley for Specials in Lawrence Virtual Schools.
Yeah, that's fine. Just those 2 things, I don't think I'm gonna work with that.
We're expected to use our MU email address for everything, right?
Yes, but if you have another one that's more preferred, unless Neil says differently.
Oh.
Yeah, like if we're gonna send an email out because of the tornado and everything, it'll be any email. Does that make sense? But if it's a regular one, you send her an email life insurance, we won't send it back to you. You can put your school address or something.
Typically when I do this, the students do put local classes. Yes. And probably most administrators that are, I'm familiar with that. No, so just your office.
I also will send out, if I send out a blast email to all of you, it'll be to your MMU email. I don't know if you've gotten one of those yet or not from me. You know, your first graduate level assignment right there.
What?
Your first graduate level assignment.
Yay, that was easy.
Just goes downhill from there. Just kidding.
Unless there's any particular additional information.
Oh, yeah.
Is Gardner look like, are they usually looking for steps
Yes,
like I need or
yes.
if I were to go?
Yes, you can go to human resources and you just ask to take things up. I'll ask you some questions. Okay, I'm going to continue on as that sheet's going around. This is the syllabus. And we're going to go through it shortly. I talked with Neil, is that this, I had a little difficulty with my Moodle. And so Hopefully I can resolve that by the end of this week, but, well, we will resolve it by the end of this week. But this is uploaded on there, but I don't think you can open it up. You'll just see it, but I don't think you can open it up because I think I touched a wrong file. But on here, if everybody will just go to the first page, here's my contact information. And if you need to contact me, either in my office or on my cell phone, please don't hesitate to do so. If you are having difficulty with something that you need to talk through, then go ahead and give me a call or email me. My email information is on there also. It's the school district's email. I also have a personal email, but for this, it's just easier for me to operate within the school district. So, and if it's during the day, just because I'm at central office and I'm in my office quite a bit, don't think that you're bugging me or bothering me. Don't hesitate. And I will, I think this says within 48 hours, but I'm usually a pretty good email returner, and it's usually that same day. So if you have questions, then don't hesitate. What I was going to say also, if you have questions, if you're going to be late to class, but then I'm doing the online class, I'm not doing the face-to-face class. Although I will be teaching the class when you got, it's in the winter time, it's the law and legal class. So that is face-to-face, so we will do that. So this is the syllabus, and I don't know if Neil was going to go through it with you on his syllabus. Some of the stuff is similar. We're not going to go through it verbatim, but does everybody have the textbook? I know, Kristen, that you do not. But you guys, it's what? Okay, because your first assignment for next Tuesday is going to be due is to read chapter 1 and 2. And then I will have instructions on for that. And so that's why, and I don't know if this text, if there's a library you can check it out from, or if you can find it online, or.
That's a good question. I think there's an
Because
older
Kristen's hadn't
exam.
come in yet.
Friday, I'm hoping faster because usually they kind of decide you have no Friday, but it
Yeah.
shows up maybe a day or two later.
You might check out a library and you might have a copy somewhere until it gets in.
Okay. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, and if you have difficulty with it, then let me know, and maybe you can borrow from a colleague, or I don't mind photocopying these chapters 1 and 2 and sending that to you guys as well. I've done that before in the past, so just let me know if it doesn't come in. Okay, and this is a good text. We will follow it, pretty much through the course. Kind of how I set up my classes is that you'll read some chapters, and then I'll have some quizzes, or we might have some, conversations back and forth on Moodle on, just viewpoints and thoughts and that type of thing on the text. So I'm not one of those instructors, and I know that Neil's not either, because you can see his book is already tabbed quite a bit. I told him this is a great book.
I had to.
This is a great book.
Now you're really scared.
So we will use this.
Organized and has tabs.
So we're going to use this, and so please pay attention to that when I put that down on Moodle. If you will flip back to page 9, I'm not going to go through the standards with you. I'm just going to go to 9. This is kind of the course outline. This is what I want to go over with you. And then quickly, if you will just flip to page 11. So we're going to look at page 9 and 10, and then also page 11. So page 11 are the assignments and grading. I just wanted you to see that. We're going to go through that in a minute. So flip back now to page 9. So what we have done here is there's 8 weeks, for these classes, and then these are the topics that we're going to cover within this behavior component of the class. So obviously we're doing an orientation now, and then before I leave, your first assignment is also due next Tuesday, and it's to read a couple articles on characteristics of some behavior. I will give those to you, and then I have a rubric that I will give to you as well. And so I'm going to explain that to you before I leave. So there's that's what the characteristics of autism, behavior, and emotional disturbance. Something, Neil, that we didn't talk about are disability fact sheets. Are
Yeah.
you talking about those within your classes?
Yeah, my class is not doing that, but there are other ones that will do those.
Okay,
So you can do those, or you don't have to. It all depends what you want to do. And it's basically, I think, from what I understood, it was that you guys have to be patient with us. We're still learning this too. They're developing like a portfolio of disability facts.
Correct.
So I don't. You may have done that before
Yeah.
in your other. So I'm not doing it in my class. So
okay.
uh,
I am gonna do disability
Okay.
fact sheets, they're a cool thing. They're great. I will give you, we have a template for you, and I think sometimes in classes you have to do 5 of them, or 4 of them, and we're 25 points each. Just because I didn't know what we were doing here, because we're building this sometime, a little bit as we're going, which is totally okay. You're gonna have 1 disability fact sheet. So I don't want you to worry about that right now. I will share information on what the expectation of that, but just overall, I didn't want you to read that and say, what's that mean? All it is I'm going to take the disability of Tourette syndrome. It's a disability, and I'm going to do a little research on it. And then I'm going to go to the template that Dr. Martin's providing for me, and I'm going to put in the definition. I'm going to put in the characteristics. I'm going to put in the best strategies. I'm going to put in tips for the field. I'm going to put in maybe what parents, would expect. Another colleague might choose the disability of autism and just do those things. So that's what a disability fact sheet is, and it's something that will probably be part of your portfolio. So we're not going to do that until a little later, but on Moodle I'll tell you, okay, now we're doing disability fact sheets. You're just going to choose a disability that is interesting to you, and then we're going to write about it.
I am so sorry. I don't know.
That's okay.
Did I get the articles before I leave? Or
Yes, you may.
yeah, I need to see you after class. Now, can I talk to you before you get out of here real quick? I'll just talk to you after this.
Okay. Okay, so that's what the disability fact sheets are. And there's going to be several articles that you're going to read in addition to your text, and I will give those articles to you. I'll upload those on Moodle, or sometimes I'm going to ask you to, hey, go find an article on bipolar. Go find information on schizophrenia. That falls under the mental health component of behavior, social, and emotional disturbance. So go find an article on autism. And I will let you know that prior. So there's different articles that we're going to read. Okay, if we go down to week 2, I also want to do the caveat of I might shift some of these things around. So I'm going to give you the I don't know if it's a warning right now, don't work ahead because it might shift. And so all the assignments are going to be there. I just don't know when they're going to be. I think this is pretty set, but I want to have the flexibility to shift a little bit, and I wouldn't want you to go ahead and work down on something and then say, oh, we're going to do it this way. So if you can understand that. Next thing we're going to talk about is positive behavior supports. Very, very important within special education. And then we will talk about data collection. I already gave to you my expectation of data collection. I will share different data collecting forms. If you guys have them from the schools that you're in, I'm going to have you to upload those and share with your colleagues different data collection forms as well. So data collection is a component that we'll do on that. A portion of this class is a functional behavior assessment. And an FBA/BIP, behavior intervention plan, or behavior support plan, same thing. Just I like the word behavior support plan, but when MNU wrote this, it was written with BIP, so it doesn't matter. You will conduct an FBA. You'll write a BIP, and it's part. I will share that rubric with you, upload it onto Moodle. But that's something that we'll do all together as well. We won't do it together. You're going to do it individually. You're going to find a subject, which is a student in the classroom, or if you're not in the classroom, you just have to find someone that you can take data on behaviorally. So we'll talk about that. But that
Literally someone that has an IEP or
it doesn't matter.
It just can be.
It can be, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be an IEP. You're gonna have to, what type of behavior are you going to want to observe in the hopes that you're gonna change that behavior? Because we're gonna talk about interventions you can put in place. Now, when I taught this class several years ago, a couple of students weren't in the classroom settings that didn't have access to that. And it was also in May, so it was kind of at the end. Well, one of them chose his roommate. You know, there was some behavior that this guy wanted to change, and the behavior that he chose, his roommate was sloppy. He had laundry all over the place, and so the roommate didn't know that he was keeping data on him, and so his intervention worked. So I think he said, "You pick up your laundry, I'm going to buy you pizza." So that's the intervention,
That
but
gets
he
expensive.
presented all of that. So just kind of be thinking about that. You know, you can, if you have access to students, that's good, but it doesn't have to be. If you have access to adults, you just are going to have to keep track of some behavior, and I will be more explicit to you. But that's one thing tonight I just wanted you to know. That's going to be the case study. So in here it talks about a case study. That's what that is, and you fold the FBA and the BIP into that. Okay, you want to go on down on week 4. We'll talk about ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis. Talk about autism. Autism is very, very big within the whole behavior component and just within education as a whole. We'll talk about some structured learning, you know, how we set our classrooms up, what some visual schedules are, you know, that type of thing. Once you collect that data, how do you graph it to see if the data is working or not? There's things called, you know, trend lines that the data talks to you, and is your intervention working? And we'll work through all of that. So if you flip the page, we'll talk about social skills, visual schedules, I think I mentioned that. Writing behavior goals, behavior objectives, behavior goals, we'll work on that as well. And then at the very end, the last class, and I'm not sure how we'll do this yet, if we'll do this through, it's not Skype, what's that?
Adobe Connect.
Yeah, Adobe Connect. You guys will present your case study. You know, this was the student that I chose to keep the data on, that I wrote the FBA on, that I did that. And so the last class will be the presentation of that. That will be written down, and you also submit a paper on it. We have a rubric for that, and it just walks you through it. So that's the expectations of what's going to occur if you flip over to the assignments that are due. You know, something I'm going to start with now, you know, I suppose that you will probably talk about this too. You're in master's level classes. It's a lot different from bachelor's level classes. They're more rigorous. There's assignments, there's readings. You know, part of it is time management as well. How are you going to manage doing the expectations from, you know, the beginning class, the expectations of the behavior class? You have to be on. You have to be planning ahead, and I can't stress enough how much time management is important when you're taking these master level classes. And that's the expectation also, you know, of a master level student as well. So within this, you're going to have an assignment on characteristics. I'm going to pass that out to you. I will also upload the articles into Moodle. We're also going to talk about, you're going to have an article study on positive behavior supports. That will be on Moodle. It's not on there now. It will be on there, and you'll write a paper on that. We talked about the behavior intervention plan. We talked about the graphs. Talked about the ABA, and then how the IEP goals, that's what that is. The IEP, the goals and objectives that blend into that. Social skills stories. I'm going to give you examples of social skills stories, and what this all is. They came about with students with autism, but social skills stories are just good for all kids, you know, if they're having troubles processing. And actually, we have them also. We have a picture of an exit, and then we have the word exit. And so we use that, and so I will give you examples of what a social skills story is, and then you're going to develop a social skills story on your own. I don't know if it's one or two of them. I think I knocked it down to just one instead of two, but those are actually kind of fun. Where if you have a kid with a disability that has trouble processing, you have a fire drill, you will have already taught him, hey, here's your social skills. What do I do when I hear that? Oh, I go, you know, and then you just kind of go very sequentially step by step, so the kid can move out this hard work. That's what a social skills story is. How do you line up for recess? What do you do in the event of a tornado drill? What do you do in the event, when we have a guest speaker in the classroom? So there's myriads of social skills stories. Those are kind of fun. So we will work on that. We talked about the disability fact sheet. You will do one of those, and then there's the presentation and the case study. But obviously, that's worth 100 points. That's the meat of this class, is the whole case study, and we'll kind of go through it for the whole 8 weeks. It will take you probably 6-7 weeks to go through, because you have to collect data for at least 2 to 4 weeks for it to even be valid. So depending on, sometimes you can collect data for a week, depending on what the behavior is, but for the purpose of this, you're going to collect data for at least a couple of weeks. And then you're going to have to put it in your intervention for that to be valid, and then you'll put it all together. So that's what we're talking about. I do have quizzes, attendance, so when it's time to log on, and I don't really know how we're going to do that yet, if we're going to have a set time. How do you do that, Neil? Is there a set time that they come together as a class, or is it just all individually?
Yeah, so far it's been individually.
Okay.
So you set it up. And
That's what I thought, but I
all
didn't
that
want to
stuff
assume.
throughout the day.
Okay. And say these items are due by this deadline.
Yeah, that's most of the time.
Then they just log on and find out and just follow that. Okay, perfect. Some of the readings I have some quizzes for that you will get points for. Some of the readings we don't have quizzes, and we'll just have discussion boards. So these are the expectations of this class. Any questions on the syllabus? Okay. The last thing I'm going to share with you is your first assignment, and its characteristics. I have a PowerPoint that I will upload also, so I'm going to have you review that PowerPoint, and it's just the beginning initials of characteristics of autism, of emotional disturbance / behavior disorders. Those are kind of one and the same, and then mental health issues. And so mental health is bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders, and that type of stuff. So that's what the PowerPoint is. And if I were teaching face-to-face, then that's probably one of the first things that we would be doing. So with this, I have found some articles for you that I want you to take a look at, and then I want you to choose one of those topics, the mental health, the autism, or the emotional disturbance, and you're going to write a paper on it. And then you'll submit that by next Tuesday. I have articles on those 3 areas: characteristics of emotional disturbance, characteristics of autism, characteristics of mental health. And then you're going to pick one of those: mental health, autism, or thank you, EDBD, and then you're going to write a paper on it. So not on all 3 of them, but that's just an overview of the characteristics. But I'm just giving you all the articles, and you can decide which one to do. And the rubric says the article needs to be 3 to 4 pages in length. So this is a good start. If you want to go do some other research and bring in some other information, find other articles on autism, then do that. Make sense? Glad you asked that question. You're welcome.
Will we have access to Google Scholar or anything like that? Or?
Yes, you should be able to do that on your own each at home. We also, as a student, have access to the library, EBSCO host, and there's other educational resources.
Yeah. So you have 3 articles here. You have one article that's just, I wanted very simple articles, because remember, I'm just giving you the characteristics. It's not involved in depth. So one article is on emotional behavior disorders. Second article is on autism. Third article is just some information on mental health. And then if you'll look at the mental health one, it's the one at the very back. It's this one. What I've done here is just the definition of mental health, and then I went and and I got just a couple of characteristic articles, like on bipolar, on depression. Oh yeah, schizophrenia is on the back because I front and backed it. Does that make sense? So with that, here's the rubric that goes with it. Thank you much.
Here's this.
Thank you. So you're going to write a reflection paper. I've given the information. Once you choose one of the three areas, and you're going to go out, whether in the MNU library or, like Micah said, Google Scholar or wherever, and find additional. There's a plethora of information out there on the web. Use that information. Write your paper. Make sure when I grade your paper, I'm going to follow the rubric. So make sure that you follow the rubric. Make sure that you define the characteristic. Make sure that you share facts about it. You know, prevalence is an example for autism. 1 in every 55 children now have autism. It used to be 1 in every 288. Then 1 in every 88. Now it's 1 in every 50 or 55. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for there. What is the current research on either of those three, whichever one you choose? And if you want a 10, then you need to cite 3 other, educational research areas. And then what are some best practices that we can do to assist in teaching with this disability? And then finally, your mechanics and your organization. Your papers are to be written through the American Psychological, that's right, the APA style. Not the NLR. So if you don't know what that is, then Google that and it tells you what the components are. 12 font, the margins, double space. Make sure your paper's APA style. With that, I think I'm done talking with you. I'm excited to teach this course. I want you to read chapter 1 to 2. There will either be a quiz or there will be a discussion board. I have a quiz ready to go from when I taught this class prior. I just haven't decided yet because it's a lot of reading. You already have a 3 or 4 page paper ready to go. I don't know if you're going to have an assignment from Neil's class also, one assignment. So just make sure you read it and then I'll let you know what we need to do with it by the weekend.
And this is due
Next Tuesday. And so I guess with they'll be due Tuesday by 5 p.m. Now, I like it if you can submit it a day early. That helps you in the event that your internet would go out or something would go wrong. So make sure you plan ahead with that also. But the due date is 5 p.m. And 5 p.m. will be the due dates of all the assignments, as I'll tell you differently. When I taught class to class, face-to-face, the due date was right when class started. And they had to submit their assignments online also. If something happens and an emergency occurs and you're not able to do it, just call me and we'll talk through it. I'm very rote in how I do things, but I'm also very flexible. And I know that life happens and you guys have jobs that you're doing as well. And I understand that because I've been in your shoes. So it goes back to my comment earlier. You just got to be organized. The next 8 weeks, you've got to be organized. And then you're done. and you'll move on to the
The
next
next
8 weeks. But that's the program, and it's 2.5 years. It goes faster than what you think. And at the end of it, you'll be so happy because then you'll have your special education program. So, that's a good thing. Other questions? What I'd like to do is maybe, I've talked to Neil about it, maybe halfway through, I was kind of thinking maybe on week 4, I'm going to come back, touch base with you guys, just see how we're doing with our case studies and if you have any questions on that.
So that's an idea.
As I was putting things together and taking it from one month to the other, I thought, maybe I'll just come back on week 4 and we can touch base and see. Alrighty? I'm going to leave you with, I brought some of my cards, just in case you want it. My email address is also on the syllabus, but when I was leaving the office, I just grabbed a couple. If you will give these to my colleague here.
Can you remember? Because I will not. Thank you for the extra comments.
Questions? Good. All right. I'm very accessible, and I want to be here to teach you on this topic. I don't know everything, but I'll impart what I do know with you. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Martin.
You're welcome. Micah and Kristen, why don't you guys email me when your text comes in, and if you haven't received it by this is Tuesday.
Yeah, so it should be.
Okay. If you haven't received it by the weekend, then we'll figure something out. Okay. So email me by Friday. Once you email me Friday morning, let me know if you've received the book or not. If not, then I'll give chapters 1 and 2 to you. Okay.
All right, if you want to get your laptops up and going. And Dr. Martin, if you need me for anything,
Okay.
For a web authentication.
you should be able to get to our resources now. And regarding the meal, good. Okay. It's kind of nice, I be able to listen to all your information about yourselves when you do it with her, so let's tell yourselves again. So, a little about myself. Neil Friesland. I've been here in America for 15 years, my 15th year. I've been in special education for about 8 of that. Prior to coming back to Mid-America, I taught high school science at Weston High School and at Grandview High School. And then came back here and didn't really know what I wanted to do in education. And I talked to the professor in charge of special education at that time here. She was retiring and said, hey, why don't you go to special ed? And that's exactly what I did. So I went to KU and got my doctorate in special ed. My area is in mental retardation. That's what my license says. They don't even use that term anymore, but I still what the state says. My area of emphasis or research that I've done lately is higher education experiences for students with intellectual disabilities. So we have a kid, for example, on campus that has Down syndrome, and he takes about 14 hours, 15 hours a semester. He audits, but he still goes to class and hangs out, participates, and stuff like that. So,
Is that Alex?
no, that's just another kid named Mitch. Now, Alex, she's talking about is he's a kid that was this other gentleman with Down syndrome. They both, Alex and Mitch, were in our transition program. Were you able to get to it?
I'm getting there. I just want to
Okay.
I taught Mitch in third grade.
You did? He's
For
such
his
a,
Mitch's last name.
Aggressive.
such a great kid.
Yeah, he's a great kid.
He called me this morning. I missed his phone call. He usually calls when he gets on campus.
Oh.
Hey Neil, I'm going to class. Or hey Neil, so just a great kid. Just a great kid. Alex, on the other hand, has autism, and he's our mail guy, and he works part-time for some mail card. Both of these individuals were in our transition program here on campus. That's it. We're partnering with the Olathe School District, so we really don't have much to do other than house them. But the Olathe School District brings their students that are high school age / college age here on campus to get social skill development, work on their IEP goals and benchmarks, things like that, and mainly get them peer interaction as opposed to being away from their peers at that age. So, that's a little side note. I've been married for 21 years. I got 3 kids, 2 in high school, 1 in elementary school. I had Jess in class as an undergrad, way back in the day. Let's see here, anything else? My mom lives about 2.5 hours south of Duck Dynasty. Yeah. So we're going to try to go by there when we go down. She lives out in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, so that's a little about myself. And my passion is for special education. When I taught high school, they called it class within a class back then. I don't know if you guys remember hearing that term. Maybe you do. They would bring in kids with IEPs, and the paras would come in with them and be with them, or they would sit down with me and plan their lesson with that student. So that's why I kind of got interested in special education at that time. So it kind of piqued my interest when I got married too. So my little devotional thought for tonight. I don't have anything. Usually we'll have something on the board, but the first thing I generally ask even my undergrads is, where in the Bible does it first talk about people with special needs? I mean, that's a kind of a big question. Is there anybody in the Bible that had any issues, behaviorally, academically, medically? Yeah, exactly. The lepers. Yeah, the crazy guy. That's exactly right. The crazy guy, could he have had schizophrenia or bipolar disorders? Or what about Cain? He murdered his brother. So was that a disorder? I don't know. Was that a special need? Probably. So our human life existence has been full of people with special needs. Did Jesus have a special need? Now, we do lump kids with gifted, talented, and special ed. However, we'll find out that it's not covered under IDEA. So, however, we do give them teachers, and I would say Jesus was gifted and talented, for the most part. But in our human existence, our lives are full of human beings that have special needs. You and I always use the term, the normalization principle. We are always trying to make people normal. And we have to kind of get away from that. God is not trying to make us normal. God is not doing that with us. He's trying to make us like Him, which is the ultimate. So I full of special needs people. And in fact, we are all special needs ourselves. So we have to figure out how then do we fit into some scheme and idea of what spiritual life may be in God and the people around us. And then how do we accept people that are different from us? And that's all special needs people are. They're just different from us. So that's my thought. How do we do that? And we're going to spend 8 weeks in my class and Dr. Mark's class. thinking about those things. However, the other APs come around, you'll be thinking, oh, we're doing the same thing again. So every class on this program is being thinking about the same thing. Prayer request.
I need a roommate.
Need a roommate.
I'm about to lose on.
You don't want to get kicked out.
No, I mean like I'm about to lose on this awesome opportunity.
Yes.
Just technically, I don't meet the minimum salary, so
Okay.
I don't know what else I can do to meet that minimum salary to get it.
Pray
So
for Jess to get a roommate. Preferably one that can pay.
yeah, because I can't afford my apartment. It's taking longer.
I taught a continuing ed class last weekend, and one of the teachers in there was one of the from Lewisburg, the quarterback from their football team was killed. Yes, it's just a terrible time. So you might think about Lewisburg School District or high school. I'll pray for some of this. Father, thank you for this opportunity tonight. Pray for each of these students that are here, that they are embarking on this master's degree where they're trying to better themselves, number one, academically and professionally, and number two, they're bettering themselves for the kingdom. I pray that you put on their hearts and their minds if there's somebody that needs help, whether it be in school right now or in school in the future. I pray that you just give them the strength and the wisdom and knowledge to reach those goals, to meet the needs of those students. Help us, Father, learn more about ourselves, your special education. And Father, let's give you all the glory. Okay. On Moodle, you okay, Moodle? Everybody good? Yeah. On Moodle, I've given you the syllabus, and that's what I'm on here. I just clicked on it. And I put on, make sure you check your MNU email daily, just in case I've sent something out. Hey, I found this article. Please read this or whatever. Okay. Gives you a course description. I'm going to let you look through that. Basically, this is the first of 3 courses you need for provisional licensure. Okay, so the intro class, intro characteristics, then you need a methods class and a practical, and then we threw in Dr. Martin's class and all that. Right? So there's first of 3 courses, but then you have Dr. Martin at the same time. So by January, we should be thinking about provisional licensure, applying for that. And Janelle Hoffpower will do us working on it. Our goal is to get you done with this master's degree. We'll get you done with a master's degree, but our ultimate goal is to get you to pass that praxis, so you guys can get your license. So that ultimately is what we're doing. I've given you the course resource here. This book, as Dr. Martin said, is a really good book. Yes, it looks like I've tabbed it, but it took me forever to do it, and I'm not very organized, and I did this for me because I'm not organized. So anyway, this is a very good book that's going to help us along the way. I've given you the standards. These, and you will hear this from here on out. There are standards for this are Kansas Department of Education Special Ed standards and the Council of Exceptional Children's standards. Now, I would suggest from here on out, once you do get more into special education, you join Council of Exceptional Children. It's just like joining NEA. Does that make sense? Join that, you get a lot of benefits, and you get a magazine every month. I think it's bi-monthly. You get a magazine and research every 2 months or something.
Is it like a union, like any of them?
Yes, you get. Do you get
Is it like what?
a union? It kind of is, but
You
you
have to
get
pay
liability
fees.
insurance.
Yes.
Do that? I couldn't remember. So yes.
So, there's covenant.
Yeah, there is kind of this. CEC has a Kansas chapter also.
Yep.
So you pay your dues, you get all the benefits of being a member, and you also can vote. And this body of CEC lobbies for special education reform, laws, things like that. So, but I suggest you do that. I'll let you read through the standards. I've got the standard one here. This is a Kansas standard in the blue and in the black. When I get down here farther, here's the Council of Exceptional Children's standards. So I'll let you read those when you have a chance. Okay. Content that we're going to cover historical models, theories, philosophies, identification and over-identification, basic elements of the law, which is IDEA, American Disabilities Act, confidentiality, elements of the IEP, members of the IEP team, service delivery models, Section 5 and 4 plans. Characteristics of adaptive learners, characteristics of learners of adaptive and functional learners. There's two separations here, and we'll talk about those. Multi-tiered system support in response to intervention. You guys have heard that, I'm sure. And personal philosophy of special education. Methodology, lectures, activities, videos, and so on. Grading, the written assignments, Dr. Martin's already talked about that. I'll let you read through those things. Accommodations, if you have any accommodations that need to be made, let me know that we can get a hold of our press facilities for the accommodation. Now that's very important for special education. By law, we have to have that in our syllabus. So we put this in just in case somebody with special needs and need accommodation. You can get them to college level too. Okay. Assignments and grading. The SPED law case review. Pennsylvania Association of Retarded Citizens versus Penn or Mills versus Board of Education. There's a rubric I've given you, and I'll show you that. It's due next week. So all you're doing is reviewing that law and just giving me a write-up on it, and I'll show you what to do. Chapter 1 and 2 questions. There are 14 questions. Let's do section 3. Reflection paper on disproportionate representation. Section 3, so you have 2 assignments due on week 3, basically. I put fact sheet on that. I don't think I'm doing the fact sheet. I don't know why I'm still on there. But we'll still do the fact sheet with Dr. Martin. Does that make sense? I don't know why it's doing it. Anyway.
So just strike through that then?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. They're not going to do, you're not going to do number 3. Okay? You're not going to do number 3. Oh, excuse me, number 4. I'm done. Yes. You're not doing number 4, right?
Like, I don't feel like I'm doing
Yeah,
reflection.
I was reading on it. So you're not doing number 4. Reflection paper, the RTI, Personal Philosophy of Special Education and IEP Development for Driven Planning and Instruction. Then you have a final exam, Part A and Part B. And there's a presentation you're going to do right before the final exam each time. I'll split you up into groups. The IEP, you may have never seen an IEP. You may have never written an IEP, which I expect that. We are going to practice writing a fake IEP in here. And you're going to get exposure to it, and you're going to find out what all needs to be included in an IEP. You're going to see samples of IEPs. That way, when you get to the other class, you're like, oh, I've seen this before, I know what needs to be in an IEP. So you're going to make up, or you can use a student in your classes that you can write an IEP. Make your own yourself. Does that make sense? This is basically what we're doing. The schedule, I've given you that. Also on Moodle at the very top. Tonight we're talking about those things I even listed on the board over there. The philosophies, historical models, and disproportionality. And next week we'll move on into IDEA and EDA and so on. Okay. Here is the case review rubric. I didn't print it out for you. I didn't kill any trees like Dr. Martin did, so I'm just kidding. I almost did. I came that close. It's hard for me not to hand anything out. I've been told I must go as paperless as possible. This is the first time in my entire career I've done this. So I'm like shaking going through the draw here.
It is hard.
And you know what they did in American House? They put a code on. So anytime I make a copy, they know exactly how much I'm making. Unless it's still somebody else's code used there. So, which I probably will.
It's hard.
It's
you
very
have
hard.
to highlight.
It's very hard. So anyway, you have access to this rubric. It gives you, as you go across, what to do. Okay? Does that make sense? Here's the chapter 1 and 2 questions.
Yep.
Yes?
Do that as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. These are just these are the things associated with the assignments. You're not doing all these tonight.
Okay, that's so.
This is the only thing you're doing for next week right here.
Okay,
This case review.
gotcha.
And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But the only thing you're doing for next week is this: use this rubric right here. And what you can easily do is Google these right here: Park versus PA or Mills versus Board of Education, and you can find as much as you want to. Here are the other things for other assignments coming up. Chapter 1 and 2 questions. The disproportionate representation in special education. It's hard to say that. And the reflection paper, giving you a rubric on that also. Response to intervention rubric. Personal philosophy of special education rubric. see how many rubrics I can do. Right? There's your IEP worksheet. Look, I'm going to give you a worksheet you can write your IEP with. It tells you what to write. And all you do is fill that stuff in, which is kind of nice. And a lot of times, the school districts will give you these like templates you can fill in. But I'll give you that, and then there's a rubric down here, right here, how I'm going to score you. Does that make sense? So do you need to worry about those other things other than the case law right now? No, don't worry about that. But that's just in the syllabus. So as you go through the syllabus, you'll see those things. Questions about the syllabus? All right, what else? Another thing I need you to look at, well, also, okay, I'm back up a bit. Course schedule. I'm giving you the same thing I put in the syllabus, but right here. So if you're already wondering what we're going to cover each week, it's right here. Also, it tells you when things are due. I'd like you to open up the GSE handbook right there. I sent an email out earlier today, I don't know if you got it or not, about looking through the Graduate Studies handbook. You're going to open it up. You're going to, between now and 2 weeks from now, I would like you to read through that. There's a form you need to fill out, and you're going to upload that form. It says Submit Handbook Agreement Form. Just upload it to that. Does that make sense? Pretty simple. Basically, it's just trying to let you know you've read it. Thank you very much, Dr. Martin. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So you're going to look through that, upload it there, and you'll be ready to go. Okay?
That the form that you want us to turn in is that handbook agreement form.
That's
And then
correct.
we submit it. I guess we just save it and then submit it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Does that make sense? So a couple weeks, you got to have that done. Just
That's
next
the
week.
same as the one on the page.
Yeah, same exact.
Okay.
So if you've already, yeah, so the same thing for graduate study. I just put it there just in case. If you've read it already, don't need to open and read it again. You just sign that form and upload it. Okay? All right, so let's go on. We're at week 1 now, right? As we look at, it's divided up. If you look through Google, you'll see week 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what I've done is thrown up and put stuff all over this, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff
Looking
everywhere.
at it makes me want to vomit.
Yeah, there's stuff
So,
everywhere.
and then all those little things after it,
Yeah, and
the little icon.
what it does is if I turn that off, we will lose things, which is kind of nice, right? So it helps a little bit. What I've done is, if we look at week 1, I'm going to try to follow this step by step here. So I'm going to try to start here and work my way down and get through week 1. And it gives you page numbers and stuff for the textbook, so when we get there. If you don't have the textbook tonight, no big deal. You can read it later, okay? The goal is to have chapter 1 and 2 perused, how's that, by next time, and have that case law studied or written, okay? So what we're going to do is start off with Christmas in Purgatory. You guys ever heard of Christmas in Purgatory? This is an expose on mental retardation, written in 1965, and it brought attention to the plight of people with intellectual disabilities, or we call it mental retardation. All right. So from now on, okay, let's get it. I get in the habit of saying MR, it's an old way of saying it, or mental retardation, but it's the new term is intellectual disability. It's changing everyone's life. So this brought to light the plight of people with intellectual disabilities. Back in the day, back in the 60s, they would house these individuals in asylums. I don't know if you've seen pictures or not, but there are millions of these. There are hundreds of pictures on this website from Christmas in Purgatory. So if I scroll down and see all these here, I want to pick one just for the heck of it. You can kind of see it, but there's gentlemen sitting here, the guy here, the guy there, guy there, guy there. This is just one little area, okay? There are also pictures in here of children. Let's see if I can find this. Notice this individual. She's sitting on a bench. I think it's a she. There's one there, one there. What happens, do you think, when you put men and women together? could be. But what about a drive of a human being? A sex drive?
Well,
You're gonna have
you're gonna
You
reproduce.
can have children, pregnancies, and
illness.
yeah. 'Cause you can see there was a problem with this. So bringing to attention this idea of housing people in an asylum, in hospitals, because they had special needs, brought the whole idea of special education reform. So in 1965, that was Christmas in Purgatory. You can look through that anytime you want to. But basically, it gives us the starting point of saying, okay, where we were, where we're at now, we're going to look at between now and this next hour or few hours. Okay, I want to talk for 10 minutes. We'll take a break and we'll come back again. So 10 minutes gets you at 6:30, right? So we've been going an hour and a half. We'll take about a 40-minute break, 45-minute break for dinner. Is that okay? You guys need to go get dinner or something like that? Or we can take a 15-minute break and just keep going. Cool? Okay.
Which one are we gonna do?
What do you guys want to do?
15-minute break and
15,
keep
20-minute
going?
break? Or do you want, what do
Does
you
that
want?
mean we get out earlier?
Probably.
I'm for that.
I've got my lunch. I've got my supper.
Okay. Okay. I plan to give you a little bit of time at the end, maybe 15 minutes or so, so at 8:45, just to go do some research down the line. And this library is open until 11, so which is kind of nice for us. So either you can do it here on the computers, or you can go downstairs, start working on some of the research for your other papers and for this paper. So I'm gonna give you a little leeway. Okay. So what's so special about special education? I've heard that 1,000 times. What's so special about special education? What do you think? Now, by the way, for this to work, I mean, we got 4 people in there. This is where you got to talk. Because if I want to talk to you, it's just not going to be fun at all.
We just love your voice.
Oh, you know, I like my voice too, but still. What's so special about special education?
Well, and I think of it, I mean, I guess it depends on where you see it from, but like, you know, being in a classroom, you have like 25 kids, and you're just like, you know, I feel like I'm constantly just, you know, trying to get this. But I feel like special education, well, depending on the load, you don't have as many, and you're trying to pinpoint on their needs
I see.
to hit upon, you know,
No, that's right. You've been in the resource room. You were from my property room. You guys ever been down in the resource room? Hung out? What do they do down there? You kids mean?
Like the last school.
No, well, you know, yes and no. We'll talk about the differences between resource and life skills. But yeah, either one. Yeah. So they march out of your class and go down to this room, and sometimes they march back, right? So back and forth. So I mean, why do we do certain things like that?
So we can get ready to attention more one-on-one.
Okay.
Maybe they're not so overwhelmed by the noise or commotion in a regular classroom with 32 students. Where in a resource room, you might hopefully have 4 or 6
Sure.
kids who are relatively similar, so they can support each other. They go, hey, I'm not the only person that's got this issue, but there's one person that they can work with, one face.
So it's a little more consistent. A little more
Specialized
Yeah,
and
so
allow you to
specialized.
meet that kid where they're at, because they may not be at the same level in every subject. They may be functioning at a high level in one area and functioning at a low level in another, and allows you to really focus in. And then because of the IEP, you have specific goals and specific strategies that they expect to be.
it's
So-
like,
Go ahead.
in all reality, there are some teachers that are like, well, they're not easy, I don't have to meet their needs, they get met needs by their special ed.
That's called the us versus them attitude, and you are becoming a them. By the way, because you'll be in special ed, teachers usually say it's us versus them. You're the them now. So you guys are going to be the ones having to take care of the issues the teachers don't want to deal with those kids.
They're like, well, I got 20 years of kids.
Exactly right. So what's so special about special education?
Well, what do you think?
I'm trying to figure out because I don't know. I'm not.
We operate on the belief that every student, given the right scaffolding, qualifications, can successfully. That's what
Well, why do we have special ed?
Because some students need more accommodations, scaffolding than other students. That's just kind of the
Sure.
various sense.
Like I was in a studying an autistic room private, and like in all honesty, like just their social needs are so different from what the other kids were that like I feel like they were just it's like when I get in like a concert, you know, feel like claustrophobic for them, like being in that classroom, we're totally not even helping succeed. It was almost like
So you have autism. Micah has learning disability. There's a difference there. There's a big difference how you teach them, how you approach them, how you reach them, their needs, all these different things. So now we're getting closer to what adaptive special education is, and what the difference is between functional and adaptive special education. But we're not there yet. So what you're saying to me is individualized education is what's special about special education. Is that what you're thinking?
It's part of it special education.
Okay. All right, let's look. We talk about Bible, again, when the Bible talks about special needs people. How do you think special education's been going on?
like like
Organized special education.
yeah.
Or
Something that's actually defined like within what used to be considered a state facility
That could be part of it.
or a home. Because at one point, if you had someone with a mental illness, mental retardation, physical disability, physical deformity, you shut them in the attic, put them in the cellar, and
That's
you
right.
left them. And now, you know, at one point, instead of having them at home, I had a lady I worked with for 8 years who has a son that's with disabilities. And she was told when he was born, put your son in the state facility, forget you ever had a child.
Many people back in the 40s, 50s, 30s, 20s, all the way to the 70s and 80s were told to do that. You guys ever heard of Rain Man?
Yeah.
His name's Kim Peek. You probably watched it. You'll have to forget. I'll refer back to some of the stuff we had in here last
We
Kim
have a
Peek.
bond.
Yes, we did. Kim Peek was a real man, real Rain Man, and was really that high of a savant. Meaning, you could ask him who won the World Series in 1933, who's the MVP, all this stuff, and he'd tell you. However, he couldn't take care of himself. His dad had to shave. He recently died in the last 5 years. So
How old
he
was
was probably 50-something years old. When he was a baby born, they told him to put him in, they call it American Ford, which is what that asylum is called. And his dad said no.
Well, I know that kind of going off that my mom, you know, said she does home care cases. Well, in the last year, like she gets paid. Like she took in this boy that she paid my dad and her basically like they're his home teacher in a way.
Yeah.
Like they take care of him, feed him because his mom couldn't take care of him. And, you know, kind of going back to like why special education. I know when I sat in my orientation for the late, the lady said she was talking about, you know, what tomorrow. She's like, you might love doing the resource room, whatever. Like how these kids can't really defend themselves. You know, like there's so many that are kind of taking advantage
That's
of.
right.
Because the boy that our parents had, like, he was taken advantage of by his brother, and, you know, can't really voice.
They're the most vulnerable,
Yeah.
marginalized, and need somebody to advocate for them, and that's what you guys are becoming as advocates for them. So if we move from the thought, okay, what's the specialized special education? Let's look then at the history of special education. Okay? So in your book, which you have, I'll just read some dates. Now, I've got this link up here. I don't even know if it's working yet. It's on Moodle too, but I'll read some through here. It's on page 367, actually. I put 368 up there. 1799. Okay? Jean Itard attempts to train Victor, a wild boy in France.
treatment centered around sensory stimulation, exercises, coupled with systematic teaching procedures. And this little wild boy, they call him, he actually never ended up talking. But he made quite a bit of social skills, social skill strides. In that sense, this boy, I think, either he was abandoned in the wild, or you ever heard of people being raised by wolves? This is something like that. I don't know if he was raised by wolves or not. Yeah. 1792, Felipe Pinel, appointed head of the hospital of France with the mentally ill. So 1792, they saw mental illness as an issue. 1802, Joseph Francis Gall speculated specific regions of the brain control certain mental activities. Moving on down to 1830s and 40s. Conditions in state hospitals were better than the almshouses. Other forms of treatment included public auctions, selling of chattel slaves, and abandonment. So you sell kids if they have an issue, sell them slaves, just abandon them. There are some cultures today that even kill their children and have a physical disability. Moving on down, 1846. First educational facility, Westboro, Massachusetts, for socially maladjusted youth. Established with reformatory and educational goals in mind. So socially maladjusted youth.
Anything from someone with aggression who wasn't getting along with their parents?
Behavior, aggression, probably been in trouble with the law. There's a number of different things there. So they saw that there may be a connection there. If you walk into any prison nowadays, lots of people with disabilities. Lots of them. 1848, Massachusetts was the first state to support schools for mentally retarded in the United States. But 1848, that's pre-Civil War. They saw the need for a special school with people with mental retardation. Now, do you think these institutions started out as horrible asylums?
I think they had great goals in mind.
I think so.
They were suddenly overwhelmed, and when you're overwhelmed and understaffed, everything's gonna go south.
What's it cost, do you think, house somebody? You rent grandparents in nursing homes? $5,000 a month.
It depends on the name of the work to long-term care. Depends if you're Medicaid
Yeah,
or if you're private pay, anywhere from $7 to $10,000.
it's huge. It's huge.
A month?
Yeah, depending upon the level of care you
Yeah.
require.
And there are sometimes that there people with disabilities are put in nursing homes that are young. Whether they have traumatic brain injury and they need specialized medical care, things like that. So you can see that there's a history to this in the United States, and not only in the United States, but in the world, of people with special needs and what they're trying to do to educate these people with special needs. We're fast forwarding, we're just flying through history. 1896, first psychological clinic for children opened at University of Pennsylvania. Early 1900s, MR children frequently assigned to foreign speaking steamer classes. They thought 1900s. Okay, let's review the great history of the United States. In 1900s, people were coming over all over the world to immigrate here, and if you could speak English, you're in this line. And you were a street cleaner in Italy. You were a doctor in Italy, and you could speak English. You go to this line and you become a street cleaner. You become a doctor. How screwed up is that? What they did is take these kids with mental retardation and they put in, they can't speak English, so they're going to speak another language. Welcome to the United States. 1904, this is getting closer. Alfred Binet creates the first paper intelligence test. We're getting into the IQ test. Stanford Binet would be the test that came up with eventually. 1907, the United States passes the first sterilization law for mental defectives. So legally you can sterilize individuals with mental retardation. Okay. I'm trying to find your.
1911 is when the actual test
Yes.
published.
I am fast forwarding, just flying through here. Here we go, 1971. Okay. Pennsylvania Association for Retarded Children alleged violations of due process and equal protection of the 14th Amendment, the United States Constitution regarding barring low IQ children from public schools in their state. That's your case. That's one of your cases, right?
Where was that?
Page 385,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Association for Retarded Children. And the other one's Mills, right? I don't know if it's going to go here now. 1975. The Education for Handicapped Children Act is enacted in federal law. Okay. Public Law 94-142. So we're fast forward. We were fast forward to 1975. If you will hear anything else tonight, you got to remember Public Law 94-142. It is basically the first special education law that was enacted in 1975. Okay, stemming from pushing of the parents and constituents of individuals with disabilities from 1954. What Supreme Court case changed in 1954? Brown v. Board. Very good. That's good. Brown v. Board says separate but equal is unconstitutional. That Brown v. Board overturned what law and what year? You guys are thinking way back now. You're like, oh, I can't remember. It was 1898. Very close. Plessy versus Ferguson. Remember that way back in your
That's
mind?
what I was thinking.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect you to get that. It's like pulling that out. Yeah. You're pulling it out of your mind. Plessy versus Ferguson says, hey, separate but equal is great. It's constitutional. Fast forward 1954, it's not unconstitutional. Overturned. Our great state of Kansas, Brown v. Board. Then the constituents of the people with special needs said, hey, hold on. That includes people with special needs too. So you can't discriminate with them. So in 1975, Public Law 94-142 was enacted. Okay. All right. Oh, here we go. I thought it was good. And these are interesting ones here. 1817, Connecticut Asylum in Hartford. Okay. New England Asylum for the Blind, 1829. New York State Asylum, Gallaudet University, 1864. You guys know what the Gallaudet is for? Absolutely. Very premier. It's hard to get in that place. Yeah, it's very premier. And,
It's hard to get in if you're deaf, and it's even harder if you're
Absolutely.
If you're training to, my friend is training to be an interpreter. She went to
Yes.
apply for an internship there as a hearing interpreter.
it's hard. You can get your doctorate there. You can, I was in school with a lady at KU. We were in graduate school together. And she went to Gallaudet for a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
1963, learning disability was coined. Then, of course, 1971, the Pennsylvania Association for Retarded Children versus. Okay? So that was the timeline that I was wanting to look at associated with that. History of special education. So, 1975, the Education of All Handicapped Children Act was enacted. That's basically saying you cannot discriminate with any kid with a disability. You can't keep them out of your classroom. Okay? We're going to keep going on, and it morphed and morphed and morphed. Public Law 94-142 changes eventually into IDEA. Okay? And IDEA, for our purposes, we're going to say 1997. So anybody want to take a stab at what IDEA stands for?
Individual with Disabilities Education Act.
There you go.
Let's see.
All right, you got it. Individual with Disability Education Act. IDEA was co-authored, co-written, worked by Ann and Rudd Turnbull from the University of Kansas. I had Ann Turnbull in class. She's phenomenal. Her husband Rudd's a lawyer from Harvard. They both went to University of Kansas to work in special education because their son, can't remember his name, had an intellectual disability. So they got really involved. And then when 2004 came along, close, 2001 is No Child Left Behind.
Actually, 2002.
You know what? I had an argument with my committee, my dissertation, between 2001 and 2002.
Really?
I'm going to go by it, but it's 2002. How's that sound?
Good. That's what it
There
is.
you go. I'm changing it to 2002. My committee was wrong.
Your committee said it was 2001?
Yep.
For your dissertation?
Whatever. Anyway, 2002, No Child Left Behind. 2004, IDEA was reauthorized by helping with Ann Turnbull, Rudd Turnbull. They went to the Capitol Hill, lobbied it. They came up with IDEA, which we're going to talk IDEA more later. We're going to talk about the different key principles and things like that, I think, next week. But basically, we're getting to IDEA being, this is what we follow right now as the law. Along with No Child Left Behind 2002, No Child Left Behind is morphing now, which is kind of nice. And by next year, we were all supposed to have all our kids 100% proficient. Remember that?
That's hilarious.
So that is changing, which is kind of nice. You know, the state of Kansas got a waiver to the federal government saying that we don't have to meet that now because we're gonna approach No Child Left Behind differently. But it is associated with IDEA because in No Child Left Behind, it states that every student has to be assessed, including students with special needs. Yes?
It's an issue that's going up with the kid I work with now. Even with No Child Left Behind, all schools are allowed a certain percentage
That's
or a
correct.
set number of kids. My kid has fallen through the crack every single year. They want him to take a standardized test now at age 12. He's never taken any standardized test ever.
Well, see, that's, if I remember correctly, he should have taken an alternate assessment.
They didn't even
See that? I mean, I think they've dropped the ball. Parent is, he should have taken an alternate assessment because an alternate assessment because you get a certain percentage that can. The rest, everybody else has to take the state assessment. With special education, they give you a certain percentage. I want to say 20%. I can't remember the number. You think I know that? I just don't remember. But they're saying a certain percentage can take an alternate assessment. It's not the same state assessment. So I don't know the situation, so I can't make a professional judgment on this.
Oh no, it's just the case of
Yeah.
my kid has fallen through the cracks. He's not, as far as I know, not even taking an alternative assessment.
Which as a parent, I'd be like, shouldn't we try to determine what this my kid knows?
He doesn't have an IEP either. That's something else that they're working on attempting to have this fall.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
I'm
another thing.
kind of going, he doesn't have an IEP and you want him to take a regular student thing? No.
All right, let's take a break. 10, 15 minutes. And then we'll be ready to go, okay? Good? Break time. Restrooms are right to the front. Top floor, well, or we're on the top floor that way.